Hello and welcome back to the Shift Sitebuilder video tutorial series. In this video we're going to cover the visual builder and some front-end basic editing techniques. Now in the previous video we covered adding and removing menu items and adding new pages to your menu. You'll see that I've restructured our menu somewhat. So now we have home, who we are with a drop-down of in the press, what we do, a drop-down of portfolio, blog, and contact us. I felt that order was a little more fitting. Here in front of me you'll see the new page that we added in the previous video. Now, to get started, make sure you've logged in to your admin area of the website, to your dashboard. In a new tab, bring up your Site Builder website, which you can see in front of me here. I can go to my home page. You'll notice that after logging in, when you navigate to your website, there's this nifty little menu up above your website. And on this menu, you'll see the Enable Visual Builder button. So first, you want to navigate to the page that you'd like to make changes to. For this video, we're going to use the portfolio. We're going to use the In the Press that we just added in the previous video. So let's navigate to In the Press. Again, for your site, navigate to the page that you'd like to make edits to. Now, once I'm on the page I want to change, I simply click the Enable Visual Builder button. This will reload your page using the Visual Builder or front-end editor. Now, at first glance, you won't notice much has changed. It looks like it just reloaded the page. But if you look closely, when you hover over any one of these items, you'll see a menu appear. This menu allows you to delete or change the existing objects on your site, along with add new sections and new functionality. Let's start with the basics. Our company tagline. We can simply click in here, highlight that text, and type in whatever you'd like. This was the In the Press page, so I'm going to call it that. In the Press. Simply click in, and you'll notice once I start typing, this little menu appears, which has all of my standard controls. I can make something bold, italic, underlined. I can change the text alignment. Also, something nice about the Visual Builder is if you hover over almost any icon, it'll detail what that is. So this is Insert Link. So if I wanted to highlight something and then insert a hyperlink, I could do that. Insert a quote, which just gives you quotations around what you have selected. Text settings, which if I click on this, I can actually select from a ton of different fonts. And then I can choose the font size on this nice scale here. So for example, let's change this. Let's change this text here to, we'll use Arvo. How about Open Sans? Whoops. Or Lobster. That's the same text. That's the same font that we're using for this menu. And then let's increase the size, because that doesn't read well when it's too small. Perfect. In the Press, helping you achieve internet success. That's not really a great tagline for this page, but you get the idea. Now, scrolling down the page, the same goes for any of these objects on this page. After loading the Visual Builder, we can simply click and highlight the existing text and type in whatever we'd like. Now, you'll notice a lot of other controls that are popping up on the screen as I am editing here. And let's go over a few of those. So, for example, this image, this little icon, These are cute little icons, but what if you don't like one of them? So simply hover over the icon that you don't really like. You can select delete and get rid of that module. Now, just like any editing platform or word editing platform, Control-Z or Open Apple Z on a Mac will undo any change that you just made. So if I delete this whole section and I say, you know, that looks silly with just 3 here, I can press Control-Z and I can get my icon back. There it is. Let's go over the settings of this particular section, this particular image. Now you'll notice as I hover, I can control settings for this entire group or for individual icons. So if I click on this little gear, which takes us to the module settings, I can actually change that title here. Now again, this opens a new window with the settings for this particular module. I can close this. I can always come in and type just right on the front end like this. Or I can click into these settings where I just was previously, and I can actually change the title here instead, and the content as well. Now you'll notice in these settings I have the title, the URL, and if I type a URL in here, and I can choose whether it opens in the same window or a new tab. I'll choose new tab. Then I click this check mark. So what I've just done is now this whole section, this whole image, if I click it, will take me to the URL that I specified, which was just Google. Let's go back into the settings and look at some of the other options. Here I have the option to turn on or off this icon. So if you don't like the icons, you can simply turn them off and just have the text. If you keep the icon on, you can select from this list of predefined icons. They have quite a few to choose from as well. You can also select the icon color. Circle icon, which just places the icon in a smaller, in a larger circle. You can even choose the circle color. And then even turn on or off a circle border. So a lot, and then the border color as well. So a lot of customization here. Very easy to follow controls. Image icon placement, you can even tell this to fall to the left of this blurb, and then you could do the same for these other 3 so they all matched. There's even an animation for this logo, top to bottom, right to left. That's what when it appears on the screen. When you first load this screen, these icons will appear and they will follow this animation. So let's see. You can see as I change this drop down, you can see the animation take place. It previews for you. Left to right, top to bottom. I like the bottom to top. Looks like it slides up onto the page. You can choose the text color between dark and light. That's in case you have a dark background. For example, if this section, which we'll go over shortly here, sorry, my wife just messaging me. We'll go over that shortly, how to change the background settings for this section. So if you had a black background, for example, you could change this to light. The text is still there, but now it's just white text. You can also choose the text orientation if you want it to be left, right, justified, centered. And here we have the content, like I said. So we can click in here and actually type directly in here, or we can come into the settings and manually enter text. You can also choose, which is pretty cool, you can disable this on the phone, tablet, or desktop, meaning if you don't want these icons to show on your mobile phone, you can simply say disable on a phone. That means when the site shrinks down, if you feel these are going to be too small to display on a phone, You can click this to disable it, and it will no longer appear on a phone. And those are all the basic settings we're going to cover as far as editing this blurb goes. Now, every section of the site will have its own unique set of tools that allow you to edit it. For example, if I went in here to this graph that it put in here. Now, this graph might come in handy for some of you. For the majority, you probably won't need it, so we could just delete it. But if you do click into the settings, you'll see that this is much different than the settings from that blurb we were just looking at. Here's our 4 different bars, and we can look at the settings for each one of those. So we give it a title, and then we give it a % complete. So if I change this, you'll notice it immediately changes the percentage here. Now, again, when looking at the general settings for this bar counter, as they refer to it, you can choose the text color, dark or light. You can choose the background color. You can choose the bar background color. Which is the bar itself. You can use percentages on or off. You don't even have to display those. And again, the disable on phone, tablet, or desktop. Now, same for any text blurb on the site. You can, again, just go in here and start typing away, whatever you'd like it to be. These blurbs are automatically formatted, so they know when to return. You don't have to press the return key, which I did here, but you don't have to do that. If you just keep typing, it'll keep going on to the next line as it should. Or again, you don't have to do it this way, although it is the easiest way to edit. You can click on the settings for this blurb, and it's, again, very similar to the settings for this module we changed earlier. Change the text orientation. Here is a nice text editor with lots of tools to format, and then the disable on. Now, let's say we want to add a new section to this page, meaning we don't want this Our Story in this graph at all. Okay, so first off, let's delete this section because we don't want it. So you'll see as I hover over things, you'll see it outlines what I'm selecting. If I just put my mouse here, you'll see that there's this nice blue border around this entire section. See that? And when I do that, there's a menu that appears in the upper left with a little trash can. So these are the settings. If I click on settings here, this is the section settings, meaning this is the entirety of this section I am editing the settings for. So I can actually put in a background image. If I wanted the background of this whole module, this whole section of this page to be an image instead of this gray background, we could do that. We could also just select a different background color. Let's see, we'll make it blue and we'll make it really light. Something like that. You can even upload a video file. If you click upload, it'll ask you again. We've seen the media library before. You can simply click on select files and upload your video. And then that video would play in the background of this section. Pretty cool. And then some more custom controls, which we'll get into in the more advanced editing videos. But if we don't need a section, if we choose from a predefined layout, like we went over in the previous video, and we say, you know, I really like this layout, but I don't need a bar counter, and I don't need this Our Story blurb. We highlight over the entire section, and just click on the trash can. Bam, it's gone. That entire section has been removed from this page. So now we just have this nice slideshow area, our 4 little blurbs, icons, and then below that we had the staff bios. Now, opposite deleting something, we can also add a section, and you'll notice as I move my mouse around this page, when I get to where 2 sections meet, this little plus icon appears, and if you hover over it, it says Add New Section. So let's add a new section where that old one used to be that we just removed. Add New Section. Now here we choose whether we want a regular section, a specialty section, or full width. Now the difference is being a regular, let's do a regular here. regular will give us a couple of different predefined options for how many columns we want this section to have. This is one column, so if I select this, it's going to be a one column layout, and it's going to ask us what this section, this one column section is. What am I going to put in here? You know, am I going to upload an audio file, have bar counters again, a blog, just a button, a call to action? There's a lot of options here. Gallery, an image. So for our training purposes here, I'm just going to look for the basic text module. Okay, I'm going to click on text. So I'm just basically saying that this new section I added, it's just a text module. This, you know, we can add photos into that text if we want, but for the most part, it's just going to be a blurb about us. And that's what I'm going to type it as, about us. And then we'll have all of our body content. And type in some stuff there, and you kind of get the idea. Now, of course, we can use this lovely text editor, which we can expand, by the way. You'll see if we hover in the bottom right, we can click and make this larger, and we can even move this thing around wherever you'd like it to be. But you'll see we can highlight the text, we can change you know, the different fonts here, we can change whether it's bold or what color that the text is. There's a lot we can do. Let's make that bold. Let's make this bigger. Let's see if we can change that to make it larger. Let's see. Okay. So when we when we highlight something, like this is going to be a title, this about us. So actually, so when we highlight this to be the title, we click on paragraph, and then from this drop down that for some reason is appearing a little low, we select a heading, like heading 1, which is a title, or heading 2, heading 3, etc. You'll see those there. There. And now we have our new text section here, this website. Now, let's go ahead and delete this section we just added so we can go over some of the other types of sections. So delete. And then again, let's insert a new section here. Now, specialty, these are predefined layouts that are a little more advanced. Now, you'll see this. See, this details, each image here shows you what this layout, each kind of details each specialty layout. So this one will have 2 columns, and then it'll have a top bar on the second half of the page, and then 2 smaller sections below it. These are all very custom, very specialized layouts. We're not going to insert one of these just yet. Let's click on Insert again, and then let's click on Full Width. Now, the only difference between a regular one-column layout and a full width layout means that what I insert into this section will span the entire width, full width, across the entire website. So, for example, let's just say that I want to insert a map here. Okay, so I'm telling it it's a full width map. Now we need to type in the map center address. Let's use the PowerShift address. Type in the entire address and then click Find. Now this is powered by Google Maps. It should find the address if you type it in. And so I'm telling it to center there. Perfect. And I can see that it has. I recognize Stowe Country Homes and River Road there. Now, we can also change between map and satellite. We can change whether we can drag the map on mobile or use the mouse wheel zoom, meaning if I am hovering over this and I use the middle mouse to roll that in and out, I can zoom in and out with that. And we can, of course, disable it on different devices. Now, the other thing we can do is after we give it the map a center address, at the top here, it says Add New Item. With maps, we can actually add pinpoints. So let's say PowerShift HQ. And then let's type in the same address that we're centering on, 571 South Main Street, Stowe, Vermont, 05672, find. And there it is. So now what we've done is we've added this lovely pin on our map, which if you hover over, it says PowerShift HQ, what we named it. We can go ahead and click on the check mark to save that, check mark again, and now we have this nice full width, meaning it spans the entire width of the site, map with a pinpoint right on our PowerShift headquarters. Now, when you're scrolling down a website, you're usually using the middle mouse wheel. You'll see why it might be a good idea to disable zooming in and out on a map, because as you're scrolling down the site, when you get to the map, the scroll wheel is just going to make you zoom in and out. So I suggest when you're creating a map, going into your settings and turn off the mouse wheel zoom. And probably turn off draggable on mobile, because what that would do is if you were on a mobile phone using your thumb to look at the website, to scroll, when you get to the map and place your thumb on it and scroll, it's going to move the map, not the website, if that makes sense. So now we've disabled scrolling, so I can scroll right over this and it won't zoom in and out, which is fine because I don't really want it to be scrolled in and out. I'm really just showing you where our headquarters is, where our company is. Now let's move on to adding photos to existing layouts. Now down here we can see this predefined layout that we chose has these team member, it has a staff pictures at the bottom. So to edit any one of these, it's the same thing. We hover over the picture, click on the settings, and here we have all of our options which we can change here. Again, we can click in here and just simply type. Just type just like this and type in a bio here, or we can make these changes right from this pop-up window. Now you'll see there's the name, the position, the image URL. So here is the image URL. We simply click on upload and we can choose from an existing image. Let's just do that for time's sake. Remember, we can also click on upload files, select files to locate your custom staff photo or custom photo. But we'll just choose one from the media library here. I'll be the lizard today. And then click on the blue insert button. And immediately, you'll see in real time, this new image appears. Of course, we have other options, the fade in. Again, we went over these in the blurb, when the first blurb we were editing at the top to bottom. I think I chose bottom to top, which I'll keep them all consistent. For this specific blurb, or this specific module, it can also ask you for a Facebook profile URL, Twitter profile URL, Google+, etc., LinkedIn, and if you place those in there, it'll also, let's see, it'll also add these URLs to these icons down below. I believe if you remove them, if you just remove this little hashtag here, it'll actually remove the icons down below as well, if you don't want those social media links. So pretty straightforward, making changes to images. Now, each module type will have different options, as we've clearly seen as we've went through this. For example, if I want to change this slideshow area, hover over it, click on this little gear icon for my settings. Now you'll see in the press, this is the slide. This is the one slide we have. So it's not technically a slideshow right now, it's just a header image. If I clicked on add new item, it would turn this into a slideshow, and you'll see it adds the commands to cycle through the slides, and you can click to navigate to the second slide, which is completely blank. So let's do this. Let's add a second slide, and we'll just say slide 2. Button text, we don't need a button, but if you start typing in text here, a button will appear. Button URL, we can link to our Contact Us page, or link anywhere. Background image, so that's the background image of the actual slide here. Again, let's just choose from an existing image. There we go. Now, you'll notice there's a background image, which we just selected, a background image position, so we can actually tell the position of the background image to center, top left, top right, bottom center, and then we can actually choose the size of that background image, which is a big deal because you'll know that for a lot of web editors, you need to resize before you upload an image. So for this one, we can actually tell it to fit. Let's see here. Cover, we'll say fit. And it looks like that image was already scaled to be that size. So that image, that is the entire image. So you didn't see much of a change there, but this will fit the entire image in your slider. Actual size will keep the image the actual size, and so forth. Now you'll see there's also, in addition to this background image that we loaded, there's a slide image. What this is if you wanted to upload an icon or some other image that would float on top of this background image. Let's see if I can show you a good example of that. There we go. So this is a little glaring, and I wouldn't recommend keeping an image this large, but you kind of get the idea. So what I've done is I've selected a separate slide image that is now hovering on top of the background image. We have a few other options for this slide. Use background overlay. Now what this does is it turns on like a gray overlay over this background image. The reason you might want to do that is if this image is really bright and you have white text, it might be hard to read the text. We're lucky in this case, it's not. It's pretty easy to read this text and see this button just because of the image we chose. But if for some reason we had a lighter background image, let's see, like this one here, it's still pretty legible, but not quite as easy to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to delete this slide image out of here because that looked silly with that big pop-up, but you do get the idea of how you could use this. Use background overlay. I'm going to say yes. So to see how that darkened, it overlaid this background image with a dark cover, which basically just allows you to read any text you might have a little easier. It takes away from the background image a little bit, but it's definitely helpful if you have problems reading this text. And you can even choose the color of that overlay if you'd like. I usually leave it default. I don't think we need to add a tint to it, but you could if you wanted to. I could tell it to be a red overlay, and I could make the opacity here a little less. Let's see. Let's go back to where it was. There we go. You can also clear, which will go back to default. And text overlay is the same thing. So text overlay, basically, if you don't want to use a background overlay, you say, I like this image so much, I don't want to change it at all. You could use a text overlay, which would just highlight the text, put a box around the text, and then you can also choose the text overlay color. Again, we have a lot of other options. We can upload a slide video, meaning in the background, instead of this nice image, we could have a small video file that would loop and play. And a few more advanced options that we can get into in some later videos. Again, I encourage you to get in and start editing and give these a try. There's really just this unlimited amount of control with this front-end editor, and it's really amazing the changes you can make without using any code at all. Click on my green check mark. I'm actually going to get rid of this second slide here that we added. Wasn't a big fan of that one. Now, when we're looking at this full width slider settings, before we get into the settings for an individual slide, you'll notice there are some general settings. So, for example, if I have more than one slide, Lost internet there for just a second. Bear with me for just a moment while I reload. My internet has been up and down a little bit today. This is a great feature. Actually, it's a great way to detail this. When your browser, if your browser crashes or your internet dies on you, this builder actually stores changes you've been making in cache. So right here I can say, it asks me, a browser backup exists. And it wants to know if I want to restore this backup and pick up where I left off. So if I click restore, see how all this changed, all my changes I've made, because I haven't actually clicked save yet. So all these changes, that's my fault. So let's go over that now before I continue working on this slider. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll see these three, after you log into this visual builder, you'll notice these 3-bar menu at the bottom. If you hover over this and click on it, now these are the settings for the entire page. Okay, this allows you to do some neat things here. So one, you can delete the entire page. Most importantly, all the way to the right, you can save your changes. So let's click on save. Now, that's probably the most important thing to do once you're editing your site, is be sure to save frequently. And as you'll see with my outage that just occurred there, it's important to save frequently so you don't lose any edits, even though there is a backup in place. Now from this main menu, just click on that X to close it. So again, we click on these dots to open or click to close. From this main menu, one of the other neat features is the ability to view your website as if you were viewing it from either a tablet or a mobile device. So for example, if I was seeing this on a tablet, this is what it would look like. This is a great representation. It's a great way to test your site's mobility as you're building it. Looks pretty good. Let's see about on a phone. Scales down even smaller. That looks nice. See how these all stack now instead of one next to another? Really nice. Go back to our desktop here. And let's close this main menu. So again, to save your changes as you're working, click on this big button at the bottom and then click on the green save button. Now back into our settings for the slider. Again, hover over the slider, click on the settings. We'll see there are some general settings here for the slider. Okay, we have the ability to show the arrows or hide arrows and show slider controls. That's only if you have multiple slides. You can also turn on automatic animation or turn it off. This is animation that happens on the text and on the rotations of the slides themselves. Something else that's neat feature of this visual builder is, again, we covered changing text, changing photos, background images, that sort of thing, adding this map, is the ability to drag and drop any section to reorganize things. So for example, let's say that I really want this forward-thinking blurb first. So I simply click and drag on this whole section, and you'll see I can move this around to different places on the website. So I can move it over in this column, and now I have two, but I'll just move this one. Oops, I'll just move this guy back over here. And it's that simple. So now I just reorganize this. So again, let's do this one more time. So with the problem solvers, let's make this last. Let's switch problem solvers with customer support. So I click and drag, and you'll see it begin to move. I'm going to place it right above this one. And now I have two in the same column, and I don't want that. So let's click and drag on the customer support and bring it over to the left. There we go. Now the same goes for entire sections. So if I hover over, for example, let's say I want the map directly below the slider. So let's hover over this entire section here and click on this move icon. I can drag this, and you'll see it kind of the site adjusting, letting me know where it's going to end up when I let go of this mouse. So let's move it right below the slider. And look at that. In an instant, we just reorganized the entire layout of this page without any coding, any difficult commands, all from the front end of our website. Now this goes for most aspects of the site. The one thing we can't drag and drop is the menu at the top and the logo itself. But everything else, we are able to do the same thing to. We could actually drag this slideshow section, even if we wanted to, have the map first, put the slider below it, and then have our services. We could also rearrange these icons here the same way we did. Maybe I want to go third in the list. I don't want all that attention. Let's put team member 1 first. Move him over here. And just like that, you can really take full control over the layout of your website. I'm going to move this guy back. Slideshow looks best at the top, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. Whoops, let's move it even higher up. See, I've kind of... There we go. Perfect. So those are some of the basic tools when you're using, again, the Visual Builder. Again, this is where you'll make the majority of your edits in the Site Builder program. After you create your pages and you select your layout, you'll go into this Visual Builder on the front end, make these visual changes, and then save, and you're good to go. Now, once you're done editing these pages, be sure to click on the Exit Visual Builder. And now you'll notice that the site reloads, my changes are all there, but those commands are no longer there to make changes. And you'll see all the changes we made. If I refresh this page, if I scroll down, here's the animation on these as they appear. See that? Yeah, that one shoots up. Again, Visual Builder. After you log in, simply click on Visual Builder from the top of your site. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys tune in next time for some more advanced tips and tricks. Thanks for watching.